just because you're going to need breaks. Welcome to tonight's class, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about ShimeWaza and ShimeWaza. These can be some of the most entertaining techniques to do, and they're a lot of fun to practice, but they come with some associated risks. So first, we're going to go over safety. First part of safety for submission techniques is tapping out. Pretty simple to do. 2 taps with the hand, 2 stomps with the foot, or just saying, yep, that's good, let go. Or maeta is the technical term that you may hear if you go to a Japanese dojo.
And one of the reasons we're going through this is another one of those that you don't need a judoka to practice. But if you're going to practice with someone who isn't a judoka, make sure they know.
Yeah, make sure that they know everything they need
when to stop
safety.
and how to stop you.
So if you want to come to the one-on-one training classes, but none of the people that you live with are judoka, these are techniques that you can come to us and say, hey, I need to get better at this. Now, another aspect of safety is going to be getting in position before you apply the technique. So for ShimeWaza, that's mainly going to be sensei sitting in front of me here. For Kansetsu Waza, it will vary based on the Kansetsu Waza, but get in place, then apply your technique. Don't apply the technique just instantly like that. If you're in a UFC match, go ahead. That's not where you are right now. At least I hope you're not watching a YouTube video in the middle of the octagon. So, like I said, that's safety. Really simple, but really important. We don't want to hurt our ukes. Without ukes, we can't practice. And that's no fun.
Well, and as today's uke, I have a vested interest.
That's right. So that's all I have for safety. So, all right. So a very important part of ShimeWaza is the difference between an air choke and a blood choke. If I have my wonderful uke, my poor father who had to sit through me learning this lesson myself. If I do an air choke, I'm cutting off his breathing, usually through his trachea. If I'm doing a blood choke, I'm cutting the blood flow to his head, and it's just a lot more effective, and it doesn't hurt my uke as badly.
Or at all.
Or at all. When I learned how to do the first choke on our list, I did it like this, which is not how you do it.
And threw himself right into it.
Oh yeah, I did not go gentle either. And Sensei Donovan was clearing his throat every 5 seconds for about 2 weeks.
3 days. Well, it was about 3 days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's not as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah.
So, a good example of this will be that first choke I was talking about, which is Hara Kajime. This is pretty much the most universal choke I've seen. And I'm going to take his Adam's apple, put it in the crook of my elbow. Right there. Then I put my hand in the crook of my other elbow, make a knife hand, and feed it behind him. Now I'm going to use my lats and pull back. So I make a hole, put his neck in the hole, and I use my lats to close the hole. If I use just my arm, very small muscles. If I use my back, very big muscles. After that, we've got Kata Hajime. And the way that you can tell these two apart from each other is his hand is up like a ref, who are the people who call Hajime. Now all I'm going to do, I'm going to again push with my hand, using my lat, and then I'm going to use my other lat, pull this back and up.
And for this one, my Adam's apple isn't in his elbow, but it's still in the crook of his wrist.
Right. That's an important
point. So he's still making space for my Adam's apple, so he's not putting weight on that, he's putting weight on the sides of my neck.
Yeah. Very important to do. I'm going to do the same thing in our next choke, Okuri Eri Jime. This one, very useful. You're going to see a lot. I'm going to put his Adam's apple in the crook of my wrist again. I'm going to put one foot up so I have as much control as possible. And I'm going to get as deep as I can with both hands. This hand pulls down. This hand pulls back. This tightens up the choke. This completes it.
Sliding collar lock.
We're going to give Uke just a minute here.
No, I'm good.
Oh, he's good?
Yeah, I'm good.
A fool. So, our next couple of chokes are going to be done with me and Uke facing each other.
I'm still staying seated. One of the things it gets, you've got those two blood vessels, but you've also got a couple of nerves there. And if those nerves get triggered, the world closes in and everybody sounds metallic. If he's got a hold of me and I start to fall over, he's in a position, whether my back is to him or my face is to him, to lower me gently to the ground.
I remember one time Sensei Steve was showing us a choke that could never choke anybody out. And he caught it just right. He caught Sensei Donovan's nerves, and this will never choke anyone out, right, Donovan? And he was out cold. So
I have no idea what he did. 1 second he's chit-chatting, the next I'm lying on my back looking up at him saying, what the hell happened?
But they did it safely, so everybody was okay in the end.
Yeah.
Now, for this choke, these are going to be 3 chokes that are very similar. Nami Juji Jime, my nails are up. I'm going to go as deep as I can. I like to rest my hand on his shoulder. You can grab his gi if you can get in there. His Adam's apple sits right at the crossroads of my 2 hands where it's not going to get hurt. And I pull him into me, and I pull up. So that's Nami Jujijime.
So he's looking at his nails. That's the mnemonic I use to remember.
Next is Gyaku Jujijime. My palms are up. This one is probably the tightest of the 3. I'm going to get as deep as I can with both hands, with both palms up. And then I'm going to, again, Adam's apple in the same spot, pull him in and up, like this. And then Kata Jujijime. It's a mix of the 2. So this palm up like this, as deep as it can get. This one, I rest it on the shoulder. You can put it in. Adam's apple in the same spot. In, up.
And the key thing to all 3 is get your hands as deep as you can. The example I usually use when we're talking about that is I do Gyaku Jujijime, but not very deep. So if I go here, well, that's okay. I'm not going to choke you. If I go here and I pull across, I'm not even touching his neck. And then I go back here until my hands just about touch and pull in, then I really am choking him.
And it's a really strong choke.
Yep.
Now here's the ones that suck to be UK for. Ryote Jime, the dual hand choke. I'm just going to make fists, holding onto his
Put your elbow
gi,
down so they can see.
like this. Now this one's really important. If you get nice and deep, my knuckles are resting on his blood vessels, not on his trachea. That's very important. Then I just turn. That's so much more effective than when I used to do it like this.
And gentler on Uke too.
That's right. And then the other one. What am I blanking?
Tsukomi Jime.
Tsukomi Jime. Grab this one like
Thrust
this.
choke.
This one's going to pull. This one's going to push. If I do it right. That one's a hard one to keep from being a wind choke. But if you do it perfectly, his gi tightens up around his blood vessels and never even worries about his airway. And that will take us to the last 2. I thought we were on the last one, and then I remembered one of them exists.
So the Guruma Jime?
Oh, I was wrong. All right.
No, you got a black belt. You're not allowed to be wrong.
That's right. Worst part is I love this choke. So Sode Guruma Jime.
Sleeve wheel choke.
This one, hard to do if your gi is undersized. My gi is undersized. So,
No, it's not. You want me to do it?
no, it's okay. I'm gonna come in here. Again, I'm gonna put his Adam's apple in the crook of my wrist here. I'm gonna grab this here. This is why it's so tight. I grab inside my own sleeve and I wrap all the way around his neck. I've made a circle with my hands. I'm gonna close the circle. The way I close the circle on this, I use my back, pull them together.
And it's just like cutting the top off a dandelion or something like that.
That's right. What makes it hard if you have short sleeves is that your sleeve isn't high enough for you to grab it, but Koshijime, Sankakujime?
Sankakujime.
Sankakujime. So this one, very popular, because it's very effective.
Yeah.
Up like this. Figure 4. His arm across. I can finish there.
Do it, get it.
Up like this. I can finish here. Or I can rotate myself. There we go. That one's a very popular choke because you don't need a gi. And it works in pretty much every grappling rule set that allows chokes.
Yeah. So we're going to take a quick second and I'm going to make sure.
So the final and arguably most brutal of the chokes is going to be Koshijime. I saw you trying to get out of that. So, Sensei's going to be face down. Oh, no, no. No, no.
Oh, face down.
Face down. Actually, we're going to turn you to the side like this. Now, this hand is going to come in here as deep as I can get it. And I'm going to take my elbow, put my tricep on the side of his head. This is very important. I did this wrong at Nationals, and I lost a fight because of it. So, my hips are going to come through as I pull my arms apart. Sensei is going to tap very quickly here. See, you didn't even have to get my hips through. It's a very tight
Show
choke.
them without putting the choke on. Show them that hip coming through.
My hip will be here, and if somehow he has Steve neck and can avoid it, I just walk like a Keizagatami walk around him,
Sure. Do it.
like this, as I pull my arms apart. This is key. You can walk around as far as you want. If he didn't tap right away, walking without pulling your back won't make him tap. It'll just put you in a better position when you finally pull.
So remember to pull.
Remember to pull. And that is all the ShimeWaza techniques. So, a very valuable family of techniques to know, as long as you are U16 or higher with a green belt. And if you
And
are
your
not,
opponent has a green belt as well.
yes, both people must have a green belt.
I was reffing at a, I think it was in Saskatoon. I was reffing somewhere anyway, and one of the competitors went to put on a choke, and choke or an armbar. And fortunately, I was able to catch him before he applied it, because I was able to say mate, stand them up, and he said, well, I'm in this
U16,
age division. I'm in
yeah.
U16, and but his opponent had an orange belt. If I hadn't been able to catch him before his opponent submitted, I'd have had to disqualify him.
Well, and of the many, many refs I've met over the years, some of them are nice enough to stop you before you put the choke on. Some of them let you put the choke on knowing well and true that they're going to disqualify you in about 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So,
All right, Kensetsuwaza.
so Kensetsuwaza, arm locks. I think that's how you translate that. So, very important, position, then submission. I learned this one the hard way in jiu-jitsu. I tried to submit all of these purple belts because I'd see an arm and it was a trap because I wasn't in position, and they would get my back, they'd choke me, do whatever they wanted really. So, we're gonna start with,
Just before we go there, what position before submission means is get a really good hold down then try
Yeah.
the choke or the armbar. So if you're attacking somebody and you think, oh, I could go for Harakajime right now, I have no control over his body. So I want to wait until I'm on top, my hooks are in, and I've got a really solid grip on him. Now I want to go for Harakajime. But if I can't do this solid and keep him from moving around, then
All the
if I
choke's
try
gonna
to
do,
apply Harakajime here, all he's going to do... Okay, go for it. Just get out of this.
Okay.
Finish off. Yeah, all he's going to do is turn it around on me and attack. Right? So
And
get
that's
your hold down, then go for your ShimeWaza or Kensetsuwaza.
Yeah. And sometimes you have a position that you think is good enough and you don't, and they're just going to get their chin out, like I did to Sensei. And if you make sure you have them in a pin before you apply the technique, even if the technique doesn't work and you're not entirely sure why, you have a pin.
You're still getting Osikomiwaza.
So, our first one is going to be Ude Garami. One of my favorites, because it mixes arm barring, which I love because it ends fights sooner and I don't have to use my terrible cardio, and Monogatami, probably my favorite pin. So I'm on top like this. I'm gonna, this L shape with his arm, gonna put his wrist on the mat, take my elbow on the side of his head, grab the wrist, come under, grab my own wrist. I'm gonna pull him down as I lift up. I'm going to use his knuckles like a paintbrush along the mat. If I don't have this pin, he can generally straighten his arm, turn me over, get out of there.
One of the applications of this that has me in a position that isn't really an advantage, but that's still very strong, if he's in my guard and I pull him forward, then I can grab this, push it out, grab my own wrist. I need to make sure this foot keeps him from rolling over. Otherwise, so in this case, I don't have the pin, but I still have a lot of control.
He doesn't have the pin, but he's not being pinned. So then that'll take us
Did you get them?
to Jujigatami. So this next one, favorite of former Olympian and UFC champion Ronda Rousey. That tells you it's probably a good technique. I'm going to have both my feet over. I'm going to use my thighs to squish his arm together.
And notice when he rolled back, he kept my arm bent.
And yeah, I keep this bent here. Now, I'm going to lock these because my short little legs can't get all the way across. Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm going to lean back, taking him up here. His thumb is up. I lift my hips and I pull his arm down. His thumb points the opposite direction from my hips. You can do this upside down. I'm not good enough at it to do it, or to confidently show it on a video, but it is possible. That will take us to Ude Hishigi, Ude Gatami. Very long name, very simple choke, or armbar. This is not a choke. So, I'm sitting here, Sensei's going to reach up, I'm going to keep his thumb pointed down, I rest my hand here, and I'm going to apply pressure. See how I'm using my hands to apply pressure without just sitting down? That means I have a lot more control over the force. This produces a lot less force than this, and that keeps me from hurting him.
Which I want to encourage all over the place.
Alrighty.
Oh, I can get
Gatami. We've got our list just beside the camera there.
This can be done seated or on the ground or standing up.
Yep. Theoretically, you can do it standing. I don't recommend it in competition, but you can do it if you get the opportunity.
From a self-defense point of view, though,
That's right.
it would be a
Self-defense.
good way to put someone on the ground.
It's really nice. So, I've got him here,
Lackey means armpit.
and yeah, his elbow, my armpit. So for the armpit hold, his thumb points down, His elbow points up and is stuck in my armpit. I'm going to make sure I still have that. My elbow squeezes to my tummy. And then I'm just going to lift his hand. I pin his elbow so it can't go any further, and he can't lift it up. And then I just bend it the wrong way. That's really the key to all of these. Bend his elbow the wrong way. Next is Haragatami. This one is an interesting hold. So Sensei's going to face you guys, kneeling like that. I'm going to come through here. I'm going to get this across my belly. Hara means belly. His thumb points towards the camera, and I'm going to pull here.
Oh, doesn't take much.
So I pull back here and here. And it kind of just spreads his body out so that he can't snap his arm towards him. Because one of the things that this one does, if I just do this, is he's actually in a really good mechanical position to pull against me. But with this choke preventing any of such shenanigans, I don't have to worry. Then our last one for tonight is going to be Hizagatami, the knee hold.
You want to do it from within, face down? Oh! You can also do it from within in case you get 10.
Yeah. So our last one tonight, oh,
sorry, I'm jiggling the camera there.
Our last one tonight is going to be Hizagatami, the knee hold. This is not a knee bar. It is still an arm bar. There's two ways to do it. My preferred way for technical demonstrations is with Sensei face down. And I've got his arm flat out like this. Now this one, you have to be very careful, and I'm not even going to put my knee on him until I'm ready to do it. My knee is going to go on his elbow with his thumb down.
Just don't push it off.
My knee's just going to rest here. I'm going to pull up super gently. All I did there to get that was pull up with this finger. That was it. That's all it took. Very good position, but hard to get there in a match. They don't usually like to stay there.
You want to show it from in case you get time?
Yep. And the other way, that's a lot more usable in a match, is from Hizagatami. So I've got him here, tight hold. He's flailing his arm around. I'm able to get it here. His thumb is up. His elbow is on my thigh. I'm going to put my leg over. And I'm going to slowly put my leg down. That is going to use my thigh to move his arm like this. And that is all of the Kansatsu Waza.
Cool. So the last one that we're going to hit real quick is defenses.
Yes.
There's two main defenses to Kansatsu Waza. The first is if he's pulling my arm back, see where my thumb is? He's pulling against that thumb. The first is to turn my elbow. So if I can turn my elbow, then I got a lot more flexibility that way. The other one is to get my elbow past the fulcrum. So if he puts me in Jujigatami,
Do you want to turn this way?
no, oh yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. Good thing you're smart. Whee! So if he puts me in Jujigatami, I got two defenses. The one is, if I can turn my arm like this, then it's way tougher for him to, so now my thumb is down, it's tough for him to get that.
This is worse because there's ways to adjust this.
Mm-hmm. The other thing I'm going to do, and the thing that's going to work better for me, is as soon as I see we're headed for Jujigatami, I'm going to spin hard. And I'm going to get my elbow below his hips. Now he can pull all he wants to, and he doesn't have the fulcrum to bar my arm against. And then from there, I'm going to try to get out and get on top of him, and I'll continue the fight.
And Jujigatami sucks as a wrist lock.
Yeah, it just doesn't work. So what I'm trying to do is get my elbow below his hips so that he's pushing on that part of my arm. As long as he's pushing on that part of my arm, he just doesn't have the leverage. It's when the fulcrum is right on my elbow, that's when it's bad for me. So if I can get my arm twisted so he's pushing it this way, which is the way it was meant to go, then that's a defense. And if I can get my elbow below whatever fulcrum he's got. So if he's doing wacky-gatami, just pull the elbow back.
And that's why it's very important when I say things like in wacky-gatami, my elbow comes to my tummy. Now he can't pull his arm out of here.
Yeah. And why we talk about position before submission.
Yeah.
So get your position solid, then go for the submission.
And then I guess while we're on defense, the most baseline defense for any ShimeWaza, my knee, or that's not
That's
a knee.
your chin.
My chin goes to my
He's
chest.
a sweet kid, but he's not that bright.
There are very few chokes that still work if I shrug my shoulders and put my chin down.
Yeah.
It'll pull on your jaw and tug on your jaw, and it's not comfortable, but you're not getting submitted.
Yep.
So keep those in mind. And is there anything else we want to cover tonight?
I think that's her.
Awesome. Thank you everybody for watching. Have a great evening.